Welcome to the Ethical Hacking for Beginners course. I'm Superman. I'm co-instructing with Snehill Care. I wanted to talk to you before we go any further about ethical hacking. Now, ethical hacking consists of two words, ethical and hacking. Now, hacking encompasses a broad range of activities. Generally, the act of hacking is having a system, any system, and doesn't necessarily have to be a computer. Although most dictionaries, or if you looked up the term hacking, would be to do with computers. But hacking can happen with any system. It can happen with time, it can happen with Word, it can happen with Excel, it can happen with making Udemy courses, it can happen with everything. The purpose of hacking a system is making it do something you intend it to do, rather than what it was designed to do. Okay, so let's imagine you have a lock on your house. I assume you have a lock on your house. I mean, the whole purpose of a lock is to prevent intruders from coming into your house. That is what it was designed for. However, somebody can enter if they pick the lock. If they pick the lock and enter, they've hacked it. They've basically made the lock do what they want them to do, rather than what it was designed to do. And that is the act of hacking. Now, the ethical side of hacking is that if you're the house owner and you pay somebody to break the lock on your, or test the lock on your locking system, that is ethical because you're giving them permission to do it. So if you want to see how easy it is to break into your house, you can pay somebody to do it. Now, this can apply for the manufacturers of all sorts of locks, i.e. cars, to test them, to make sure a car thief can't get into a car. So that is how an ethical hacker works. They basically are given permission to break into something for the purposes of testing and seeing if it works. So ethical means having permission. So during this course, you are going to be taught how to penetrate systems, how to exploit systems, how to break into devices and social media accounts. You are going to have a lot more skills than you've got right now. So at the end of this course, you are going to have the ability to hack accounts and do serious damage, potentially with legal implications. So before we start, I wanted to include a disclaimer that we do not encourage any sort of illegal activity. We are against it. We advise against illegal activity. Now, Snehill will be providing you with the ability to create a Kali Linux virtual machine, which will help you penetrate systems within devices. So you are going to have the skill to do ethical hacking as a practice, and there's no need to get involved in any illegal activities, okay? Additionally, you will learn how to defend yourself against attacks, so you can make your defenses impenetrable. That is really the purpose of this course, to teach you how to hack, to have an awareness of hacking and the practice of it, and how hackers are able to manipulate people into giving them passwords or giving them information that they can hack people with, and additionally will allow you to be able to safeguard yourself, understand the signs, see when something is likely to happen, and protect yourself against it. So, I hope you enjoy the series of lectures coming up because they are brilliant. They are really going to help you understand how to ethically hack systems. So, we will see you in the next lecture.
Hello everyone, welcome to Advanced Real World Hacking with Practical Videos course. Let me help you go through some of the information about me and the course. Let's talk about me first. I'm a security enthusiast with more than 10 years of experience in information security domain. A successful InfoSec startup founder with its alliance in geographies like India, APAC and EMEA region. Having said that, I've worked for some of the top-notch information security companies, helping them improve security standards for their clients across the globe. I have a proven track record in information security community. And just to understand a few of my achievements, I've done responsible vulnerability disclosures for companies like NASA, TEDx, Forbes, and 100 others like that. Eventually, I'm a successful penetration tester, helping organizations improve security posture of the environment and product lines. Now let's talk about the course. Across the course, we'll be learning a variety of topics, starting from setting up the environment for client-side hacking. And moving forward, we'll be covering all the topics as you can see on the screen. Before moving ahead, I want to offer a sense of confidence to my learners before taking this course. I'm sure we all have experienced security challenges while browsing the internet. This course will give you an insight on how hackers target the naive users across the internet. The course will help you understand the different methodologies hackers employ to target these users. The course is for education and research purpose, so that you can understand the different methodologies and protect yourself in future. I hope you will enjoy the course and learn something beneficial from this. Thank you for listening to me. Hello everyone. Welcome to Advanced Real World Hacking with Practical Videos course. I'm your course instructor Snehal, and in this video we will learn how to set up the environment for Kali Linux machine using Oracle VirtualBox virtualization software. In order to begin, we need to obtain two files. One is the Kali Linux distribution, which can be obtained from official Kali Linux website. Another is VirtualBox software, which you can obtain from VirtualBox official website. Let us quickly see how to obtain both of these files and continue. Go to Google, type in VirtualBox, and you can find it the VirtualBox official website. On the VirtualBox website, go to download section. Here is the latest version of VirtualBox for Windows host. You can click here and download the software for you. I'm not going to download it as I've already downloaded it for me. Another piece of software which is required for setup is Kali Linux distribution, which you can obtain from Kali Linux official website. Go to kali.org, go to download section. This is the Kali Linux image repository. You can download either 64-bit or 32-bit, depends on your requirement. You can either do a direct download or torrent download. All we need is an ISO file. I've already downloaded the file. At this point, I'm assuming that you have successfully downloaded the VirtualBox software and have installed it successfully. Now let's see how to create a Kali Linux virtual machine in VirtualBox software. Go to Oracle VM VirtualBox. Click on New. Type in the virtual machine you want to have. In this scenario, we would like to have Kali. Type will be Linux. Version will be Debian 64-bit. Next. You can assign the RAM here. I'll assign it to 2 GB. It depends on the amount of RAM you have available on your base machine. My base machine has somewhere around 8 GB of RAM, so I have the privilege to use 2 GB of RAM for this virtual machine. Do next. Create a virtual hard disk now. Create. Check in virtual hard disk option here. Next. Make sure dynamically allocated is checked here. Next. And create. We're almost done. Couple of more settings are required. Go to settings. Go to storage. On the controller IDE section, click on add optical drive. Now choose disk. This is the ISO file that you have recently downloaded, the Kali Linux ISO file. So you will point to that file. Now we'll go to the network. It is an important aspect. You can either choose to be attached as NAT or a bridged. In case you want to appear as another machine in the network, you can choose the bridged adapter. I'll choose the bridge adapter. At this point, everything is set and we are ready to fire up the Kali Linux machine. Before we fire the machine, with the latest version of VirtualBox, some problem has been observed when using the bridged adapter setting, which can be resolved using some simple steps. The problem usually appears in Windows 7 machine. If you're using Windows 7 machine, then with the latest version of VirtualBox, you might need to make these changes. Uninstall the VirtualBox and reinstall it using the following steps. Open the command prompt. Go to the directory where VirtualBox is downloaded, which means if you have opened the command prompt, you need to go to cd users admin or whatever username you have and go to the download section or to the directory where you have downloaded the VirtualBox and then type in VirtualBox, hit tab, it will choose the correct version of VirtualBox you have downloaded, and then you need to supply this parameter, and again network type is equal to NDI S5 and hit enter. The installation will begin, and after that, on Windows 7 machine with the latest version of VirtualBox, the bridge networking should work fine. Now let's start up the Kali Linux machine. It will take around a minute to start the virtual machine. Now there are multiple options available here in the boot menu. You can choose to install the Kali Linux machine, or you can choose to work with the live distribution. I'll go with the the distribution for the demo purpose. We're almost there. There we are. Open the terminal, type in ifconfig, and you're connected to the bridged adapter, and you have this IP address assigned to you. I hope you will not face any difficulty while creating the virtual machine for you. In case you feel any difficulty or face any difficulty, I'm open for questions and comments. Thank you for taking this course. Hello everyone. Welcome to the Advanced Real World Hacking with Practical Videos course. I'm a course instructor Snehal, and the topic for this lecture is phishing attacks. Let's understand the basics of phishing attacks. Phishing attacks are used to steal sensitive information such as username and password of users for any website. To do this, hackers clone the website for which they want to perform this attack, and then they make changes to the source code and host the modified content on the web server controlled by them. I'm sure a lot of people access banking websites where they're often told not to fall prey to the phishing scam, which will give away access of their account to the hackers and money can be stolen from there. In order to protect yourself in future from such attacks, you need to educate yourself and understand the technicalities behind it. Let's take a look at how this attack is performed and how easy it is nowadays to pull this hack using some of the readily available tools on the internet. Go to the Kali Linux machine. I'm assuming at this point that you have correctly set up the Kali Linux machine. For performing phishing attacks, we'll be using Social Engineering Toolkit Framework, also known as SET. SET comes readily available with all Kali Linux distribution and can be found under user share directory. Let's go to the directory and start the SET Toolkit Framework program. Since you are starting it for the first time, you'll be asked to agree to the terms of services. Type in yes. This is the main menu for Social Engineering Toolkit Framework. As you can see, there are multiple options available here for performing social engineering attacks. We'll not be looking into all of these options as it is beyond the scope of this lecture. The focus of this lecture is phishing attacks. Before we continue, we need to make some minor changes into the set configuration files which can be found under etc set toolkit directory. Let's take a look at that. Here is the set config file. We can use any text editor. I'll be using Nano, which is already available in Kali. We need to find configuration for Apache. There it is. We need to change the setting to off. The reason we change the value to off is so that Social Engineering Toolkit Framework does not use the web server which is available within Kali. After changing the value, we will save the changes. We'll use Control O for that. And we will write the changes and we will exit from here. Again, we need to start the Social Engineering Toolkit Framework so that the settings are applied correctly. Okay. So we'll be covering phishing attacks in this lecture. Let's go to the social engineering attacks, which is option 1. Type in 1 and press enter. These are the subcategories. We will not go into all of these. We'll go into the second option, which is website attack vectors. We'll be making use of credential harvester attack method, which is option 3. And inside this, we'll be making use of site cloner option, which is option 2. I'll explain you the use of other options 1 and 3 as well, but for this demonstration, we'll make use of option 2. Let's go through some of the information displayed here. This option is used for what IP the server will post to. If you're using an external IP, use your external IP for this. I'll explain you the difference between an external IP or public IP and private IP in a while. Now here you are required to provide an IP address of the machine on which you want to receive the username and password of the victim. Since we are performing the attack from this machine, we'll be providing the IP address of this machine. Go to the terminal, open a new terminal, do an ifconfig. This will give you the IP address of this machine. Now let me help you explain the difference between an external IP and a private IP. This is a private IP address. Let's say the victim you want to hack is in the same network. In that scenario, you'll be using this private IP address. In other case, if the victim is not in the same network and is sitting in some other part of the world or somewhere else out of the network, then we'll be making use of public IP address or external IP address. The external IP address can be obtained very easily. You can go to Google, just type in what is my IP, and Google will happily show you your public IP address. Now it says here, if you're using an external IP, use your external IP for this. Now this option should be used when your victim is not in the same network. Now for the demonstration of this lecture, I have my victim in the same network. Let's go back to the Kali Linux machine again. Since my victim is also in the same network, I'll provide the IP address of this machine only, which is 198.168.2.6. In case you want to target the victim, which is not in the same network, which is somewhere else in the city or in the world, then you'll be providing your public IP address. Now you're required to provide the URL for the website you want to clone. Let's say you want to target Facebook users, then it should start with http facebook.com. Now it's setting it up for you. Look at this information. Credential harvester is running on port 80. In case where you're using an external IP, you also need to do port forwarding for port 80 if you're behind a router. You need to do a Google search in order to see how to do port forwarding in a router. So from the attacker standpoint, everything is set now. He's only waiting for the victim to access this IP address. Let's go to the victim machine. All you have to do, or the attacker will have to do, is somehow lure the victim into accessing that IP address in the browser. Now, at this point, I will leave this up to your creativity on how you can trick user into accessing that IP address. I can give you a hint. I can give you a hint. You can use a fake mailer to send a fake mail from Facebook which says a suspicious activity was observed on your account. In order to continue using the account, log in into your account through the following link. And at the link area, you can provide this IP address. In case of external IP, you can provide the external IP address. So the moment victim will access this IP address, he'll be presented with the Facebook page. By the time he will get to know that this is the fake page, he will happily provide the information and try to log in. Since this is the fake page, he will not be redirected to his account. But by this time, we have already pulled this hack and obtained his username and password. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and will use this information carefully and responsibly. This lecture was for research and education purpose only. This is a very basic phishing attack which is well known to information security community for a long time. We'll be looking into some of the advanced social engineering attacks in the coming lectures. Thank you for taking this course. Hello everyone. In the previous video, we had explored how to hack into victims' social networking accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn accounts using phishing attacks. This video focuses more towards defending yourself from such attacks in future and avoid being compromised. Some of the key notes to consider before opening any malicious link from known or unknown source. You should never open a link which you don't trust, or if you trust the link, make sure not to provide any sensitive information such as username, passwords, bank account details, etc. In most of the scenarios, attackers create the phishing page so legitimate that it looks like the real page. But they cannot control all the aspects of it, such as they cannot control the exact URL of the site which they are targeting. For example, a phishing Facebook site will never have the URL similar to the real Facebook URL. They trick users by having similar looking URL which looks like facebook.com but will not be similar to facebook.com. There will be some sort of difference in the URL. Like we can see one in the slide, it's not entirely the facebook.com, it's facebook.com, which is not facebook.com. So if the user is in hurry, they're not going to pay attention to such details and they'll end up being compromised. So always cross-check the URL before submitting the credentials. Last but not the least, protect your computer with a firewall, spam filters, antivirus, and an anti-spyware software. The most of these components comes in the form of suite, which is available in the form of most antivirus solutions, modern antivirus solution nowadays. But if you're not updating your antivirus solution on periodic basis, then it is another piece of box with no protection enabled. I hope this information will help you to protect yourself in future from such attacks. Thank you for taking the course. Hello everyone. Welcome to Advanced Real World Hacking with Practical Videos course. I'm your course instructor Snehal, and the topic for this lecture is browser hacking. The objective of this course is to understand how visiting a malicious link on internet can compromise your machine and can lead to a variety of attacks. Let's go to the demonstration part. Go to the Kali Linux machine, open the terminal. We'll be using browser exploitation framework, also known as BEEF, for all our browser hacking attacks. BEEF is readily available in all Kali Linux distribution and can be found under user share directory. Let's go to the BEEF directory. Before we start the BEEF program, we need to make some minor changes in the BEEF configuration file found in the same directory. Here is the BEEF configuration file. Let us make use of Nano text editor for making the changes. In the configuration file, we are looking for HTTP server settings. In the host section, we need to type in the IP address of the machine. This tells the BEEF on which IP address it should start the HTTP server. Let's take a look at the IP address of the machine. Here it is. We'll quickly make the changes. BEEF by default listens on port 3000 and can be changed if intended. In case you want to start the BEEF server on your public IP address, you can provide the public IP address at this location. And you also need to do port forwarding of this specified port in your router. The reason we might want to provide the public IP address at this section is we might want to target victims which are not inside the same local area network and are available somewhere on the internet. In that case, we will be using public IP address. Now let's save the changes to the configuration file. We'll do so by hitting Ctrl O, then Enter, then Ctrl X. At this point, we are ready to start the BEEF program. BEEF takes a couple of seconds to load successfully. As you can see, BEEF server has started successfully, and you can start it and you can stop it if you want it by using Ctrl C. It also displays some of the useful information. It has 12 extensions. Extensions are like core configuration settings utilized by BEEF, and it has loaded or enabled 241 modules. Modules are attack templates which can be used to perform different attacks on the victim's browser remotely. It also tells us that it is listening on the IP address mentioned in the configuration settings. It also shows the information where the BEEF UI is listening. Now let's go to the BEEF UI, take a look at it. The default credentials for accessing beef is beef beef. Now we will understand the different options here in a while. Let's take a look at this information displayed here. Hook URL is a JavaScript hosted on Beef server, which needs to be executed on victim's machine in order to control their browser remotely. Now this can be achieved by tricking victim into accessing a page which has this JavaScript embedded, and it gets executed when the victim visits that page. Or you can use some of the advanced technique like doing MITM attack and injecting JavaScript on the fly into victim's browser in a local area network scenario. We'll be not looking into MITM attack as it is out of the scope of this lecture. Let's understand the social engineering method to execute this JavaScript URL into victim's browser. One way to achieve this is creating a sample page, HTML page, and embed this JavaScript URL, and then host the HTML page on the web server controlled by you. Moving forward, you can provide the URL to access the page hosted by you to the victim, and when the victim will access that page, the JavaScript will get executed in the background silently, and the victim will get connected to the Beef framework, and you can control their browser remotely moving forward. Let's take a look at this on how we can achieve this. We'll go to the text editor, LeafPad, and we will create an HTML page which we will host on the machine. Now we have our HTML page ready. You can use this script tag to inject into any of the page controlled by you in order to trick victim into executing this JavaScript. Now I have not created a very fancy page. In a real world scenario, you might want to make changes to this HTML source code and make the page look fancy or legit so that victim should not get suspicious and open the page. And then the JavaScript will get executed and you will have access to their browser, which you can control remotely and perform different attacks from there. Now let's save this index.html file on the desktop. There we have the index.html file. Now one way to trick victim into opening this HTML file is either you send this file directly to the victim and ask them to open this page somehow, or host this HTML page on the web server controlled by you and provide victim the URL to access this page. Now let's take a look at how we can host this HTML page on the local Kali Linux machine here. Go to terminal. You can see the index.html file here. We'll copy the file into the var www.html directory. This is the directory for Apache. Now we will start the Apache. And we have our web server ready holding the index.html patch. Now you can mail the victim this URL. On which you have your web server listening and have the index.html file ready to be served. You can write them an email and say, hey, check out this URL or website, it looks really cool, and you can provide them the link, this link. You can also use URL shortener to hide the IP address like bit.ly. Alright, so at this point of time everything is ready, and now the attacker is waiting for the victim to access this URL. So the JavaScript gets executed and the victim browser gets connected to the brief framework. Now let's take a look how it happens on the victim side. Victim will receive an email from the attacker and access the URL. You have to be a little creative in tricking victim into accessing the URL. I will leave that task up to you. Now the moment victim accesses the URL, he'll be presented with the page hosted by us or the attacker. If you look into the source code, you can see the JavaScript is available and gets executed in the background silently. Now, if we go to the hacker's machine or the attacking machine, we can see a new browser got hooked and the victim's IP address is this, and the browser type is Internet Explorer. The version is 11 and the Windows operating system is Windows 7. If we take a look at the Beef UI, we will also see the similar information. It is always advisable to look into the information, getting started information to understand what Beef is and what are the different options available within the Beef. Now if we click on this, multiple tabs gets populated. You can explore each of these tabs. You can see all of the information about the browser, which is about the browser of the victim, which is Internet Explorer. Browser version is 11, and you can see all of the different components like Flash, VB Script, QuickTime, RealPlayer. If all of these are installed or not, you'll get to see it here. These information are very useful in framing other attacks or crafting other attacks on the victim side. We'll go to the command section, command tab, and we can see these are the different modules which are available within Beef framework. These modules are like attack templates which you can use to perform different attacks on victim's browser remotely from this console. Let's take a look at some of these. If the victim browser is Chrome, you will have Chrome extensions which you can utilize. Similarly, there's subcategories in each of these modules. It's a huge list. It depends on the use and on the requirement. Now, I will not go into all of these, but definitely I'm going to show you some of the usage for few modules. Let's say if you want to detect if the victim machine has MS Office installed or not, We'll click on this module and you can see the description about the module. This module detects if the version of MS Office on the victim's browser or machine. We'll execute it. We'll click it here to see the command return from the victim's browser, and as you can see, the victim has Office 2010 installed on his machine. Similarly, you can explore all of these options. I'll show you a couple of interesting modules which I like. We'll go to social engineering. We'll go to petty theft. So at this point, you can force victim into providing their username and password for Facebook, LinkedIn, Gmail by creating a floating division on their screen. You can choose different options from here. Let's see how it happens on the victim's machine. The victim is presented with a pop-up which says provide the information. Your session has timed out warning. Obviously, if the victim is logged into the Facebook, it will look more legit. In any case, if the victim provides the information and logs in, the information can be seen by the hacker. Beef is a very powerful framework for some of the reconnaissance and information gathering and social engineering attacks. You can also make use of some of the powerful modules such as HTA partial, which will deliver partial payload on victim's machine and will present you with the Meterpreter shell at the end of execution, at the end of payload execution. Also, you can use attacks like fake flash update. You can take a look at the description about it. This will pop up a fake flash update window, and if the victim clicks on the install button, it will install the user supplied uh, payload or a file on victim's machine. You can use this for malware spreading or executing a backdoor. Let's see how it happens. If you click on install, you can see it is downloading something from GitHub. If you open it, or if you save it, a variety of operations can be performed. I'll show you another interesting thing. You can create an alert dialog. If you want to scare your victim, you can type in, and the victim will see the warning on his web page. I hope you enjoyed the video and you learned something beneficial from this course. I also hope that you will use this information wisely and responsibly. Thank you for taking this course. Hello everyone. In the previous video, we had explored how to hack victims' browser and run myriads of attacks. Let's learn how to defend from such attacks in future. B framework makes use of JavaScript which needs to be executed on victim's browser in order to take control of their browser. JavaScripts are widely used across websites on internet and is often served from the server side. Having said this, there is no easy way to keep a check on legitimate JavaScript execution before opening a website. If we can make use of some filter which will allow safe JavaScript execution based on list provided for site which we trust, can potentially save us from such beef attacks. Luckily, we have extensions in Chrome and Firefox which does the same for us in an automated fashion. These are the two browser extensions for Chrome, and we have the availability for the same for Firefox as well. Let's take a quick look for both of these extensions. This is the NoScript suite for Chrome. As you can see from the description, NoScript Suite Lite provides an extra security for your browser. It allows JavaScript to be executed only by trusted websites of your choice. Let's say you got a link from one of your friend and he asks you to visit the link, but you're not sure if the website is safe to visit, then you can exclude that website or you can mark that website into the untrusted zone. And the JavaScript, and when you'll visit the website, the JavaScript will not be executed because it will be controlled by NoScript Suite Lite defined rules for JavaScript execution. Another solution is Wagon Chrome extension, which is designed specifically to defeat beef attacks. This is an extensive work to protect against beef browser exploitation framework attacks. You can take a look at it. A very decent explanation about the whole extension is already available on the website. I hope this information will help you protect yourself from such attacks in future. Thank you for taking this course. Hello everyone. Welcome to Advanced Real World Hacking with Practical Videos course. I'm your course instructor Snehal, and the topic for this lecture is compromising user machine using Word and Excel files. This course will help you understand how hackers hack into users' machine via Word and Excel files, leveraging macro feature of Microsoft Office, and how dangerous it can be to open such files from untrusted source. Now let's jump to the demonstration part. Go to the Kali Linux machine and open the terminal. We will make use of Metasploit tool to generate the malicious macro, which will give hacker shell access of victim's machine once the victim opens the macro enable document. Let's generate the file required for generating the macro. We'll make use of MSF Venom. Type in MSF Venom with the option P. P is used for supplying the payload. The payload which we'll be using is Windows Metadata Reverse TCP. You're free to use any payload within the framework. You can also make use of Windows Metadata Reverse HTTP or HTTPS. For the sake of demonstration, I'll be making use of Windows Metadata Reverse TCP payload. Need to provide a couple of more options. Lhost. Lhost is the IP address where you want to receive the connection from the victim's machine. So we want to receive the connection on this machine. So let's provide the IP address of this machine or the attacking machine. Quickly check the IP address of this machine. It's 2.12. Patch in the IP address. In case you want to target users which are not in the same network, you can provide the public IP address. L port. L port is the port which you will be listening on which you will be listening for the connection on the Kali Linux machine. You can specify any port here. Let's specify 4444. Again, in case where you want to target users which are not in the same network or they are somewhere on the internet, you would like to make use of public IP address here in place of lhost, and you should do the port forwarding for the port specified here in your router when you're making use of public IP address for targeting users which are not in the same network. Since for the demonstration purpose I'll be targeting a user which will be opening a document in the same network, I am using the private IP address. Let's provide a couple of more options here. We'll use the encoding and we'll use the encoder Shikata. We need to choose the file format what we want to generate. We'll make use of VBAPSH. This is a partial supported macro which is very stealthy and often leads to antivirus bypass in most of the scenarios, even the commercial ones. Now we will generate the payload and embed it into a text file for the sake of simplicity and hit enter. It will generate the payload in the current directory. Now let's see if we have the payload ready. There we are. Macro.txt file is available in the current directory. Let's take a look at the content of the macro.txt file. This is the payload content and it needs to be a part of the macro that will be embedded in the Word or Excel document. Now let's see how to create the Word document which will have this payload embedded in the macro file. In the background, I have this Windows machine. Open the Word. We'll go to the View tab, go to the macros, View macros. Now this is some of the cache of my work. I'll delete it and I'll show you fresh. Alright, so let's go to View again. Go to Macro, View macros. Now here, as you can see, nothing can be found here. I can provide a new macro name. It can be anything. And create. Delete the junk from here. Already have the payload, which the macro.txt payload, which we have recently generated using Metasploit. So we'll copy the content from here. And we will paste it in the macro file. Close this, close this, save it on the computer, on the desktop. Make sure you're saving it as a macro enabled document. The file name is doc1. Save it and close now. Half of the work is done. Now, in order to receive connection from victim machine, once they are compromised, we need to start the multi-handler for receiving the connection. Let's see how to do it. Type in MSF console and it will load up the Metasploit framework. Type in use exploit multi-handler. Now we will set the payload and the payload should be same which we had used while generating the macro.txt file. And the payload we had used that time was Windows Metadata Reverse TCP. In case where you're using Windows Metadata Reverse HTTP while generating that payload, you should use Windows Metadata Reverse HTTP. lhost should be the same. Again, where you are using public IP address, you need to patch on the public IP address and you need to perform the port forwarding in a router for the specified port. L port should be the same, which we had used while generating the macro content. Now type an exploit. A lot of mistakes. Yes. And we have the handler ready on the IP address and port specified by us. At this point, the attacker is ready and he will send the document, the macro enabled document to the victim. The moment victim opens the document, he will have shell access of the victim machine. Now let's see how it happens on victim's machine. Doc 1 is the doc in which we have embedded the macro on the payload. Now if the victim opens it, let's see what happens. There we go. We have the very rewarding metadata shell access of the victim's machine. We have successfully compromised victim machine and we can perform variety of operations from here. Similarly, you can use the payload content that you had generated using Metasploit to embed that into the macro in the Excel files. It should not be very different. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and will use this information carefully and wisely. This video is for education and research purpose only. Thank you for taking the course. Hello everyone. In the previous video, we had learned how to hack into victims' machine by making use of Microsoft Word and Excel files. In this video, let's learn how to defend from such attacks in future. Macro is a series of commands and actions that help to automate some task. Microsoft Office programs support macros written in Visual Basic for applications, but they can also be used for malicious activities like installing malware or hacking into victims' machine. Hackers are cleverly using this technique on the shade of social engineering by sending the malicious macros through doc file or spreadsheet with an eye-catching subject in the mail to the victim or to the corporate networks. This is the screenshot and it displays how you can manage the macro trust settings under Microsoft Word software. Let's take a quick look on how to do it. Go to your Word software. Go to File, Options, and in the left section, in the bottom left section, you'll find the Trust Center. Click on the Trust Center. This is the Trust Center setting. Click on Trust Center Settings. And these are the settings for macro. You can disable all macro with notifications. If you choose this setting, all the macros will be disabled with the notification which will say that the macro has been disabled if there is a macro embedded in the document. Or you can choose to disable all macros except digitally signed macros. You can choose different levels here based on the type of security you want. This is the most dangerous one. If you enable this option, it will enable all macros, and it is also not recommended because potentially dangerous code can run through macros, as we have already seen in the previous video how we can execute a potentially dangerous code and compromise a user machine. So it's advisable we make use of disable all macros with notification so that user can know and be aware of such dangerous macro code execution attacks. Since disabling macros is not a feasible option, especially in an office environment where macros are designed to simplify the complex task with automation. So if your organization relies on macros, you can move files that use macros into the company's DMZ, which is a demilitarized zone, also called trusted location. This is the trusted location, and you can place all your macros which you really want to run in this location. I hope this information was beneficial and will help you to protect yourself from such attacks in future. Thank you for taking the course. Hello everyone. Welcome to Advanced Real World Hacking with Practical Videos course. I'm your course instructor Snehal, and the topic for this lecture is backdooring Android apps for fun and profit. This course will help you understand how hackers hack into victims' phone to steal all information and control phone remotely. The course is divided into two parts. In the first section, we will learn how to generate a malicious Android app using Metasploit to hack into victims' phone. In the second section, we will cover how to backdoor almost any Android application available on Play Store or elsewhere for hacking victims' phone. Let's go to the demonstration part. Go to Kali Linux machine and open the terminal. In first section, we will see how to generate a simple malicious Android app using Metasploit. We will make use of MSF Venom tool to generate the malicious app. Type in MSF Venom with the option H to check out the different options available within MSF Venom. You can explore all of these different options for your personal understanding. Now let's see how to generate malicious Android app using MSF Venom. Metasploit has payload for different platforms. Since we are targeting Android, we will make use of Android Meterpreter reverse TCP payload, which will give you shell access of victim's phone upon successful attack execution. Let's see how to generate the payload. We'll type in MSF Venom with the option PP stands for payload, and we will use Android Meterpreter reverse TCP payload. The Android Meterpreter reverse TCP payload will initiate a reverse TCP connection from the victim's phone to the attacking Kali Linux machine controlled by you. Now we need to provide some of the other options such as lhost. Lhost is the IP address where you want to receive the connection from victim's phone. Since we want to receive the connection on this machine, we will type in the IP address of this machine. Let's take a look at the IP address of this machine. This is the IP address of the machine. Type in the IP address. Now we'll make use of another option, which is L port. An L port is the port on which you will be listening for the connection on the Kali machine. We'll type in 44. You can choose any port. Now, piece of advice here. In case you want to use public IP address in order to target victims which are not in the same network, you can use public IP address in place of lhost section. Also, you need to perform port forwarding in your router for the specified port if you're planning to use public IP address here in the lhost section for targeting victims which are not in the same network. Since the victim that I will be targeting is in the same network, I'm using the private IP address, which is the machine of this, which is the IP address of this machine. Now let's provide a couple of more options and generate the payload. We want the payload to be placed in desktop. You can choose another directory here, but I'll choose desktop. You can also choose the name of application which you want to create. I'll choose the name as game.apk. Let's check again if everything is set right. Looks great. Let's hit enter and it will generate the payload in few seconds. Now the payload has been generated successfully and is available on the desktop as game.apk. Now we have the malicious app ready and we need to start the Metasploit handler to receive the shell access of victim's phone. Let's see how to do it. Type in MSF console to load the Metasploit framework. It will take a couple of seconds to load the framework successfully, and then we will see how to set up multi-handler to receive shell access of victim's phone once the victim successfully install the generated app on its phone and open the app. Metasploit has loaded successfully. Now let's see how to set up multi-handler. Use exploit multi-handler. Handler has loaded. Now we will set the payload for handler. We will use the same payload which we had used while generating the payload. We'll also set the lhost option and provide the same IP address. We'll set lport and provide the same IP address. In case you're using public IP address, you can provide in the public IP address here, and also you need to do the port forwarding in your router for the port specified here. Now everything is set at this point of time and we need to start the handler. We'll use exploit option for that and hit enter. As you can see, the reverse handler is listening on the IP address of this machine at port 4444 specified by you. At this point, the attacker is ready to receive the shell access of victim's phone. All he has to do is trick the victim into installing this app on his phone. Now let's see how to do it. One way is to directly send this APK file to the victim through mail and ask him to install the new game, and he will do it. I'll show you another way where you can host this APK file on an Apache server controlled by you, and you can provide the IP address or the URL from where victim can download the APK file. Let's go to the root desktop directory. Here we can see our game.apk file. Let's copy it to the var www.html directory, which is the Apache directory for hosting files. Now we have successfully copied the file. Let's just take a look in the var directory. Here it is. Just remove the default index.html file and we will start the Apache service. Now everything is set at this point of time. For the sake of demonstration, I will be using Android emulator to showcase how the attack executes on victim's phone, which is in the same network or connected to the same access point in which the attacker is also connected. In the real world scenario, you will have to trick the victim into installing the app on their phone for this attack to work. Now let's see how it happens on victim's phone. This is the victim's phone. Now victim can access the IP address on which the file is being hosted. Here you can see the game.apk file is being hosted. And we will download the game.apk file, or the victim will download the game.apk file. You can trick the victim somehow to download this file and install it. I will leave this up to you on how to be creative and lure the victim. Now the file has been downloaded. Let's go to the download section. And we have the game.apk file. We'll install it. We'll do next, install, and the app got installed. Now at this point, victim would like to play the game or open the app. So the moment he'll open the app, he won't see anything, or probably see a main.activity screen or the GUI of the app. But at this point, you have successfully hacked into victim's phone and you have the very rewarding Metapreter shell open for you. This is a full-fledged Metapreter shell through which you can access or perform any operation on victim's phone. Now let's see some of the operations available within Metapreter. You can type, you can type in help and see the available options. There are multiple options. I will leave this up to you to explore all the different options. You can perform variety of operations, like you can download, you can create new directories on the victim phones, you can search, you can upload a file, you can execute a command, you can drop into a system command shell. Let's do a sysinfo command and I'll show you some of the interesting command after that. As you can see, the operating system is Android 4.4. Now at this point you might be interested in stealing user contacts of the victim, so we can use this option dump contacts for that. You can also steal call logs, you can also dump SMSs from the victim's phone. You can also check where the victim phone is positioned. You can use geolocate for that. You can record the mic You can also get a picture of the victim from his phone. You can do a webcam stream, play a video stream from the specified webcam. Very powerful stuff here. Now let's see if I want to dump the call log of the victim. Now let's use this command. No call log entries were found. Let's go to the victim's phone and make a call. 1, 2, 3, dial. Now let's see again by dumping the call log, and one entry was found. And the call log was saved to this file, which you can find in the root directory. Now do a cat call log. Here you can find all the information. This is the victim's IP address, and the number on which the call was made is 123. It was an outgoing call and stuff like that. As you can see how powerful this metadata shell is, and you can opt to almost any information from victim's phone. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Now we will be covering the section 2 of this course, which is backdooring almost any Android application available on Play Store or elsewhere. Let's get into this part, and I will leave this up to you to explore the different options once you have the metadata shell access of victim's phone. Second section talks about backdooring Android apps. Backdooring means injecting your payload into available Android applications. The payload which we'll be using to backdoor the available Android apps is Android Metadata reverse TCP payload, which is already available within Metasploit. We will also make use of a shell script to perform all the backdooring activities in an automated fashion. Though it can be achieved manually, but it's a tedious process, and sometimes a lot of mistake happens and you end up being frustrated. So let's make use of this shell script thanks to the contributor for backdooring Android APKs. This is the URL. This is the shell script, which is hosted on GitHub. Take a look at it again. Now let's get this backdoor APK shell script on our Kali Linux machine. We will copy this git address and we'll go to the console. We'll type in git clone and paste the address copied from GitHub. This will download the backdoor APK shell script for us. Takes a couple of seconds or maybe a minute, depends on your internet speed. It's done for me. Do an ls and we can see there is a backdoor.apk directory here. Go to cd backdoor.apk, do an ls, again go to cd backdoor.apk, do an ls, and we can see there is a backdoor apk.sh directory. Now before we can make use of this shell script for backdooring Android applications, we need to do some configuration setting in the shell script. We'll make use of nano text editor for the same. Um, Once again, thanks to the contributors for such a wonderful script for backdooring Android application. Also, as you can see that there is a dependency for this script to run properly. So we will open a new terminal and we will download the dependency and install it. And we'll do yes. It's getting downloaded for us. Takes a couple of seconds. It will download and install automatically. We do not worry about it. Let's go to some of the other options which are necessary for the script to execute and backdoor the Android app successfully. We need to change the name of the APK tool from APK tool 2 to APK tool only. Here we need to provide the IP address on which you want to receive the shell access, similar to what we saw in the previous section. So you can provide in the IP address of your machine and on the port on which you want to listen for the connection. On attacking machine. At this point we are set. We'll save the changes by hitting Control O, enter, and then Control X for exit. If you look into the another terminal, dependencies got installed successfully. Everything is set now. Now, for this script to work successfully, we need APK tool version 2. Now let's see what is the APK tool version. It's 1.5.2, so we need to replace it to APK version 2. Let's quickly download the APK version 2. I'll show you how to do that. Go to Google, type in APK tool. Go to ibotpeaches.github APK tool install. We'll go to the Linux section and we'll find the newest here. We'll click on this. It will take you to the repository where you can find the different versions of APK tool. We will download the latest version. I'll show you how to do that. This is the latest version. We'll download it from here. It's gonna take a couple of seconds for me, as you can see. Still 10 more seconds to go. It might be faster for you because my internet connection really sucks sometimes. So once the APK tool is downloaded for you, you can find it into the download directory. and we will make some changes there. I'll show you in a second. It's almost done. Now let's see. Open a new terminal. Go to the download directory. You can see we have APK tool 2.1.1. We will rename it to APK tool. We'll do that with mv APK tool, APK tool dot jar. Cross check APK tool, all right. Then we'll go to cd user share APK tool directory. We can see we have APK tool.jar here. We'll remove this. Now we will copy the new APK tool we have downloaded and which is residing in the download directory and copy it here in the user share APK tool directory. All set. Let's cross check again. Done. Now we need to modify the permission for this. We'll do APK tool.jar. All right. Now let's check again what version of APK tool we have now. And we have 2.1, which is the latest version, and now we are all set. We'll do exit from here. Now I have a VLC app which I have downloaded from the Play Store. I'll show you. I have the vlc.apk file. Now in the backdoor.apk directory where we have this backdoor apk.shell script, we will copy the vlc.apk. It can be any apk file which you want to backdoor, any Android app which you want to backdoor. So for the demonstration purpose, I'll be using VLC. It's a famous app. So I'll just copy root downloads VLC APK dot root backdoor APK directory. We have the VLC.apk file here. All we have to do is simply run the backdoor shell script and provide the APK file, and it will perform the backdooring for us in a very automated and fast fashion. Let's take a look at it and press enter. Now it is decompiling the original APK file. So the original APK file is the VLC file, vlc.apk file. So for the decompiling, it makes use of APK tool. We saw how to use the latest APK tool. Now it is also decompiling the RAD file. RAD file also means the payload file. And now it is looking for location into the smallies and just doing some of the patching work and recompiling, and it will sign the newly generated backdoor for you, and everything will be set in a couple of more seconds. Be patient. That's all I can say. Now it's selling the recompiled APK. Now done. Do an ls here. So we have our backdoor VLC APK file in the CD in the original directory. So we'll go to the original directory. We'll do an ls. There's a distribution directory here. We'll go to the CD distribution directory. We'll do an ls. We will see there's a vlc.apk file. This is the backdoor file. This is the VLC APK file which you need to send to the victim. This vlc.apk file is backdoored, so when the victim will install this VLC file, VLC will work as usual, but it will also give us shell access on our attacking machine, which is our Kali Linux machine. At the same point, in order to receive the shell, you also need to establish the handler, which we saw in the section first of this course, to receive the shell access. I hope you enjoyed watching the video and will use this information carefully. This course was This course was for research and education purpose only. Thank you for taking the course. Hello everyone. In the previous video, we had explored how to hack into victims' phone using Android Metadata Reverse TCP, also backdooring almost any Android application available on Play Store or elsewhere. Now let's learn how to protect ourselves or defend ourselves from such attacks in future. Do we actually read the list of permissions that Android apps are asking for before we install them? I know most of us treat those permissions like terms and conditions, blindly tapping our way through. But if we actually do, you'd be aware of their reach. Some of our apps can make phone calls, some can track your location, some can read your browsing history, contacts, SMS, photos, calendar, etc. Even share this personal information of yours with third parties without your knowledge. But do they need all these permissions? Absolutely no. It's common sense. Why would a gaming application require permissions for reading a contact list or SMS? It appears like every app developer wants access to much of your phone. But controlling these permissions as a user is possible, and there are apps that make it easier for you to control each single permissions you grant to an app. Let's take a look on how to do it. This is the screenshot of app known as App Ops, which you can use to control the permissions related to every application. Also, in most of the modern phones, they have inbuilt app security application, which you can utilize to control the different permissions required by applications. In most of the cases, if you can control the permissions required by apps, you're pretty much safe. Last but not the least, make sure you have installed updated antivirus for your Android phones, which will protect you from malwares and different apps which steal information or control your phone remotely without your notice. I hope this information will help you to protect yourself from such attacks in future. Thank you for taking the course.